Some people never feel the need to raise their voice online. They watch, they read, they scroll, they absorb, but they stay silent. And it's not the silence of fear or shyness or insecurity. It's a different kind of quiet. The kind that comes from people who are actually comfortable with themselves. People who don't feel the urge to open every window into their lives. People who move differently, think differently, breathe differently, in a world that constantly shouts for attention. They keep their memories inside their minds, instead of on their feeds. And that simple choice tells you more about their psychology than any post ever could. See, when someone doesn't post, it doesn't mean they don't have a life. It means their life is personal. It means they measure meaning through experiences, not exposure. These are the people who understand that not every moment needs to be publicly celebrated to be real. They sit at a cafe sipping their coffee, fully present, fully alive, not worried about capturing the right angle or writing the perfect caption. They're living the moment instead of packaging it. And when you watch these people move through the world, there's something calming about them, something grounded, something steady. While everyone else is stretching their lives to fit into tiny squares and 15-second clips, these people are quietly living beyond the frame. They aren't competing. They aren't comparing. They're not waking up every day thinking, "What should I post to prove I'm doing well?" Their sense of well-being doesn't come from the approval of strangers. Their confidence doesn't hang on algorithms. Their happiness doesn't depend on engagement. They don't measure their worth with numbers on a screen. You can almost tell when someone lives this way. They carry a certain stillness inside them, a self-possession that you can't fake. They're not disconnected from the world, they're deeply connected to themselves. They notice details. They listen when people speak. They make eye contact. They don't rush. They don't panic. They aren't desperate to be seen. They know who they are even when nobody is looking. And that level of inner stability is rare, especially now when everything we do is encouraged to be documented. Because the truth is, the psychology of people who don't post is built on a foundation of self-trust. They trust their own memories more than digital archives. They trust their own joy more than public feedback. They trust their own value without needing proof. They've learned to protect their emotions from the noise, from the pressure, from the constant comparison culture. They know that once you start posting for attention, you become a character in your own life, instead of the main human living it. And they refuse to lose themselves that way. These people see the world with clarity. They know social media isn't a diary. It's a performance stage. It's a place where people show their best, hide their worst, and exaggerate everything in between. But the ones who don't post, they're the ones who don't need the performance. They've stepped backstage, away from the bright lights, and they're completely fine standing there in the quiet. And if you dig deeper into their psychology, you'll find something fascinating. They're often some of the most emotionally intelligent people you'll ever meet. They don't post every victory because they don't need applause. They don't post every struggle because they don't need sympathy. They don't post every thought because they understand that thoughts change, ideas evolve, and not everything needs to be shared to be meaningful. They're selective with their energy. They're intentional with their words. They know that privacy is power. And every moment they choose not to post, they're choosing to remain whole, centered, and free. These are the people who value authenticity, not the kind that gets hashtags and followers, but the real kind that happens in conversations at midnight, in long drives with no phones, in laughter that isn't recorded, in tears that aren't broadcast. They believe life is richest when it's lived, not documented. They know that the deepest parts of who we are cannot be captured in a story or a clip. They're comfortable being misunderstood because they don't need everyone to know them. They don't fear being forgotten because the people who truly matter never forget them. Sometimes people assume that those who don't post must be hiding something, but the truth is often the opposite. They're hiding nothing. They simply don't offer their lives up for consumption. They don't feed the machine of constant visibility. They don't crave the dopamine hits that come with notifications. Their nervous system isn't wired around whether other people approve. They've disconnected from that pressure, and in doing so, they've reconnected with themselves. And if you really look at them, you'll notice something else. They're fully present in real-life conversations. Their attention doesn't drift to their screen every few seconds. When you talk to them, you feel heard. When you're around them, you feel grounded. When you spend time with them, you feel the difference between someone who is half online and someone whose mind is fully in the room. There's a depth to them that comes from living offline. A softness, a calm, a kind of peace that cannot be faked. Some of them are private because they've learned the cost of oversharing. They've seen how people twist stories, judge without context, assume without understanding. They've learned that the more people know, the more they expect. So they choose to keep their world small, intimate, protected. They choose to share only with the people who earn the right to know. In a world where everything feels public, they hold on to the luxury of privacy like it's treasure, because it is. Others don't post simply because they don't think about it. Their minds are full of real life, work, passions, dreams, conversations. Posting doesn't cross their mind because it's not part of how they express themselves. They express through action, through presence, through real connection. They're the ones building things silently, achieving goals privately, growing without announcements, healing without declarations. They're the ones who understand that progress doesn't need witnesses. Growth doesn't need validation. Evolution doesn't need applause. And then there are the ones who have outgrown the need to be seen. Maybe they used to post every day. Maybe they used to chase likes, attention, approval. But at some point, they realized that the more they shared, the less they felt. The more they posted, emptier they became. They felt the weight of constantly performing, constantly polishing, constantly proving. They burned out. They woke up one day and asked, "Who am I doing this for?" And when they couldn't answer that question honestly, they chose to walk away. They chose a softer life, a quieter life, a real life. They chose themselves. And yet, even though they don't post, they aren't disconnected from the online world. They understand it better than most. They see its beauty and its danger. They see how it brings people together and tears them apart. They see how it inspires and pressures, heals and harms, connects and isolates. They navigate it with awareness. They scroll quietly. They engage privately. They observe without participating. They're the watchers, the listeners, the thinkers, the ones who understand human behavior because they aren't distracted by performing it. People who don't post often have stronger boundaries than most. They know what belongs to them emotionally and what doesn't. They don't let the world's noise seep into their minds. They don't chase trends that don't align with who they are.
They don't feel the need to keep up with everyone else's highlight reel because they know it's not the full story. They know life isn't a race, it's a personal journey. And they honor that journey by keeping it sacred. And here's something nobody talks about. People who don't post are often more secure in their relationships. They don't need public declarations to feel loved. They don't need constant interaction online to feel close. They connect in private where the connection is real. They invest deeply, quietly, intentionally. They share moments that never make it to a camera roll.
They create memories that live only in their minds and hearts. They love in the way humans were meant to love, without an audience. But here's the irony. The people who don't post often have the most interesting lives. They read books that change them. They take late-night walks where their thoughts feel sharp and alive. They explore ideas deeply, passionately, without the fear of being judged. They learn skills without announcing them. They dream big without broadcasting the blueprint. Their accomplishments come with no marketing, no captions, no previews. They don't post because their life is too full to stop and package it. And if you ask them why they don't post, their answer is usually simple. I don't need to. Not in a dismissive way, not in a superior way, but in a peaceful way. The way someone speaks when they've already found the freedom everyone else is still chasing. Because when you no longer need to be seen to feel alive, life becomes lighter, softer, more meaningful. You can breathe without wondering who's watching. You can live without needing applause. You can exist without constantly editing yourself for the world. And maybe that's the real secret behind their psychology. They're free. Free from comparison, free from performance, free from the feeling that every moment needs to be shared, free from the noise of strangers' opinions, free from the pressure to always be on, free from the urge to prove, to impress, to compete. They live a life that's theirs, fully theirs, untouched by the demands of the digital world. Because the people who don't post, they haven't disappeared. They've simply chosen a different way to exist, a quieter way, a healthier way, a more grounded way. They've chosen a life where the best parts happen off camera, where the most meaningful moments are private, where their identity isn't built on performance. They've chosen presence over publicity, reality over validation, peace over attention. In a world obsessed with being seen, they've mastered the art of being whole. And that is something truly rare. That is something truly powerful. And that is something worth respecting, even if you never see a single post from them.